Hello everyone, I'm going to try to put a video together that's somewhat comprehensive in relation to installing the HKS SLD, also known as the Speed Limit Defender. Still need help understanding what it does. Essentially what it is just the JDM vehicles are limited to a certain mile per hour. I believe it's like 110, 113 miles per hour. And this is a device that I'm assuming interprets information differently by having wires connect to it and then go into the ECU or into this device first and then back into the ECU, tricking the ECU to thinking that you are not hitting the limit and allowing you to go above that 110, 113 mile per hour limit. Here's my Aristo. Excuse the mess, because I do have, I know it looks like crazy here. I have a jumper for my standalone. Since I'm still running the automatic, I actually, still need this, which kind of sucks because thinking I'd go with a standalone should eliminate that. Well, it doesn't, because it still needs the automatic aspect of the OEM computer to control the stupid traction control and the drive-by-wire and every other junk. But I'll talk in the future about a pretty affordable standalone for the transmission that I'll talk about. And most likely it'll negate installing the HKS Speed Defender anyways, the Speed Limit Defender anyways. But regardless, this is still going to help somebody out there. So for now, don't worry about that, because I'm actually going to splice into the factory harness. I tried a trick where I saw a guy just cut the pink speed wire and it threw a check engine light, but it allowed him to go past the limit. And that is not correct for the Aristo, at least. Did not do anything. So that didn't do anything for this. So I'm going to try to make it as simple. And then if you see this box here, this is my box I'm going to be wiring up so I can run like for my standalone, I have a rail, my fuel pressure, my mag valve, and some other components. And it'll give me 12 volts into the engine bay without having, wires like this running everywhere. So right now I'm just trying to figure everything out and have everything tucked correctly. So like I said, it's not gonna look like this at all. I hate this mess. So this is looks like a daunting task, but going through this, it shouldn't be too bad. I know this is like a mess, and I'll kind of show you what all these wires do. HKS does supply an instruction guide, but everything is in Japanese, and my Japanese isn't very good. I'm Hispanic and my Spanish isn't very good either, and barely my English. So we try to make it more easy for everybody to understand, and I'm going to show you on the HKS's website themselves what these colored wires mean. So here's just the image I pulled up on the internet of the colored wires. I'll probably have like an actual image if I edit this video, and you can see coming out of the actual unit, the gray wire is NCO, the signal output. So that'll be coming out of the actual unit. And then the peach are the signal outputs, blues and other as an input, orange is a output. And so you can see there's differences of inputs and outputs, basically information going into the unit and then information coming out the unit. To actually do this correctly. And then the easiest ones that you see, they're kind of like jumper wires on the bottom, red being the power and then black being ground. Now for this whole install, the HKS unit has a total of 12 wires, but you are only going to be using 10 of these wires. If you'll notice, the light blue is an option, and then so is the purple. So light blue and purple are optional. Now in the following image, I actually pulled this one from mark4supra.net. So shout out to the guys that are putting in the time to do this. I mean, I'm sure this form is super old when they actually did this, but it's still informative and it does what it's supposed to do. Now I cross-referenced these connectors, and even though this is a Mark IV Supra, I'm working with an Aristo or a GS300. At least an Aristo with the A340 and a Supra with the A340. The connector is the same, and I cross-reference the connector. Now, as you can see, this connector, I went ahead and compared it. I know it says JZ A80. I compared it to the JZ 161 connector, and I went through every single pin, and they are identical down to the ground and the power and everything on this connector. Now, before doing the install, I recommend disconnecting your battery every time you work on something electrical, just to be on the safe side. That way you don't short anything and freak out when your car doesn't turn on. So disconnect the battery. Since you wouldn't have the standalone jumper, just disconnect this harness from the actual ECU, and there's just going to be clips on the bottom that you'll be able to pull these out. And then I'll go ahead and walk you through one by one for the actual clipping process. So made this a little bit easier. I went ahead and took out the patch harness for now, just to show you, because most people won't have this. So you probably have a factory ECU running, you know, around to get this deleted. So you gotta look at the connectors like this. If you can see, this is the actual connector clip, and that's kind of how the diagram's gonna look. So just to be on the safe side, so it doesn't confuse you guys, you'll be standing in front of the car looking this way and making sure the clip is upward, and you'll be looking at the connector that way. So the first connector I'm gonna make a cut to is gonna be your power connector. That is gonna be the connector that sits the furthest from the ECU. So pretty much this last connector right here. If you're looking at the connector, the actual diagram for B plus or B positive is gonna be this connector right there with that wire, black with the red wire, stripe. So what I like to do is, if I'm gonna make this cut, I'm trying to make it a little bit higher, so that if I ever want to revert this back to stock, if I go manual swapped or something else, I don't need the actual HKS unit anymore, I can go ahead and recrimp everything back to stock. So I went ahead and made the connections, and just to reiterate, here's your power. Let's go this way because, like I said, it's easier to see like that. Bottom right, it's the black with red, and it goes into the red. And so basically you snip it. One side goes here, the other side goes here, and it just is a jumper. The same exact thing is gonna happen for your ground. And so the ground on the HKS unit is black with a jumper, and the actual wire is gonna be brown. Now the brown wire itself is gonna be on the middle connector. So it's gonna be pretty much on that one right there. And if you look at the diagram, and you're looking at the wire itself, I'm sorry, I'm confusing you guys. Wrong connector, the one right next to it, this one right there. If you look at the connector, you can see it right there. It's gonna be on the bottom right, and it's gonna be the actual brown wire itself. So brown, ground, and then jump back to the actual harness itself. So just sharing the ground. So now that we have power and ground already tapped, and the unit sitting to the side, the next step we're going to really focus on is focusing on connector number 3. 1, 2, 3. So third connector from the left of the ECU. Here's a connector right here, and then we're going to look at the top rows. You can see the yellow, blue, white. Next to the blue, white is red. And then I can't really see the rest of the connectors, but you kind of see the top row. We're going to focus on the middle 4, essentially. The 6-pin connector on top, the outside yellow one and the outside blue one won't be touched. The middle ones are what's going to be touched for the actual connection itself. So on that middle connector, the blue with the yellow stripe, that wire is actually controlling the signal for the input and output of speed. And on the HKS unit, you'll be using the yellow and the white. Yellow going into the actual ECU connector, and then the white one is going away from it. So you snip that wire, you snip this wire essentially down the middle, and then run 2 connectors down there. All right, the next wire we're gonna cut is this red one next to the blue one. That is for NOC. The wires you're going to be using on the actual HKS unit is the color brown and the color gray. So gray is going to be going into the ECU, and then brown is going to be going into the harness. So you got your input and your output. All right, so wire number 3 is going to look Come on, camera, focus. Like a tannish, brownish color. You can see blue, red, and then the tan color. That is for solenoid B. The colors you're gonna be using on the HKS one is the dark blue, and then they call it peach. So it's gonna be pink, but they say it's peach, but it's pink. And the dark blue is going to the ECU pin, and then the pink is going to the harness. Okay, the last wire on the connector, 1, 2, 3, and number 4, which looks to be green and yellow, will be the one you'll need to snip. And for the HKS unit, that's going to be for solenoid signal A, and you're going to be using the green wire and the yellow wire for that actual connection. The green wire for the HKS one will be going into the ECU, and then the orange wire will be going into the harness. The last component, you're going to be setting this unit up. These switches should look like this, and I'll post a picture of the diagram for confirmation. I believe this is how it is. I had just turned the car on. The car turns on perfectly normal, no check engine lights, things of that nature. You shouldn't have anything if you wired it correctly. Car should turn on, shift like normal, but those are how the actual setup switches should look like.